Namaskar, everyone, and wherever you all are, I just hope that things are looking good and everyone is taking good care and keeping healthy. I must compliment my editorial team led by Hari for bringing some amazing topics for conversations week after week. And this is our 17th conversation and amazing set of leaders and some insightful discussion every weekend. And it seems like part of my culture to participate in the conversation now every Saturday morning. The relevance of today's topic, revving up tech adoption, is more so important because challenges arising from the spread of the new coronavirus is only accelerating the use of existing and new technologies as millions are forced to work from home, and probably the digital connectivity is now part of everybody's habits. And India, despite being a very low internet penetration country, interestingly, people are adopting digital in a way that no one has expected. And let's take an example of making payments through UPI, which is supposed to be the much lower down the ladder. The report says that there was like about 1.5 billion transactions that were done in the month of July, and which were like 90% more than the same comparative year last year. And this is really outrageous, and there are new users being added every second, who had actually, thought that there could be a doctor consultation that could be done digitally. Apollo 24/7 did that amazingly well. And people are ordering cars online. Hyundai in the month of June got some 20,000 plus inquiries from mobile phones, and they sold about over 2,000 cars online. This is amazing. And and as per the Nielsen data, people are spending close to about 4 hours a day on their smartphone as compared to 2 hours just a year back ago. And surprisingly, it is happening in a bigger way in a tier 2 and a tier 3 cities. And they're all new users and they're embracing technology. And we were all chatting about this with much less fear and more openness. And for some, including my parents, shopping for groceries online was a totally a new behavior. And they adopted this extremely well. It only states that adoption of technology is here to stay because it is probably quite convenient, and I may also be forced to think, with all this technology and everybody using that with digitization and technology emerging as an integral part of our lives and several new users being added in the digital population during the pandemic, is there any deeper implications, and a long-term ramifications of the increasing embrace of the digital? Is it really something that's going to get impacted later on? And also, how are we preparing ourselves for a technology-enabled future? And to answer all this and much more, we have an outstanding panel today from a very diverse group of industries to chat on the subject. And allow me to introduce them briefly. And so we have Akash Saxena. Akash is the Vice President and the Head of the Enterprise Business for South Asia for Samsung India Electronics Private Limited. Then we have Apul Nair. He's a CEO for Hero Housing Finance. We have Kalol Hazra. He's a Director for Sales, Strategy, Planning, and Management for Dell Technologies for Asia Pacific and Japan. Then we have Rakshit Desai. He's a Managing Director for Flight Center Travel Group, India. And then we have Sanjay Sharma, Vice President Operations, Hyatt Hotels, India. And to moderate the conversation, we have an extremely dynamic Vikas Mittal. He's a Deputy CEO for Megma HDI General Insurance. So gentlemen, a very warm welcome to everyone. And a big thank you to Orix for partnering with this initiative and to ISS and Tata Chemicals for the much needed support. Vikas, welcome again. The screen is all yours, and I'll probably return towards the end of the conversation to know what's happening in everybody's life other than work.
And until then, Vikas, screen is yours.
Thank you so very much, Deepak. It's an honor to be here uh, to speak to some of the best industry minds on how technology is impacting our businesses. You know, there is a curse in the Chinese, in Chinese, which says, may you be living in interesting times. And unfortunately, we seem to be living in very interesting times. Uh, the COVID-19 pandemic has thrown mankind into a complete disarray. I don't think in the last few generations has a crisis hit so many people and so many nations across the world at the same time. But this is not the first pandemic humankind is facing. There have been other, arguably more severe pandemics, right from smallpox 3,000 years back, which killed 30% of its victims, to the bubonic plague, or the Black Death as it was called, which killed half of China in 1331, or one third of Europe, uh, you know, getting impacted from 1341 to 1351, and closer home, about 1.2 crore people dying in India in 1355. Whole neighborhoods in Mumbai, I'm told, that were burnt down because they were supposed to have been infected by the bubonic plague. So, does any of this justify the current tragedy? Of course not. The only limited point being, this is not the worst mankind has faced. And that should give us all hope and confidence of, yes, this too shall pass. Interestingly, when one looks at what's the difference between the catastrophe of last centuries to now, apart from advancement in medicine, availability of technology seems to be playing a major role. News spreads quickly, knowledge becomes available faster, businesses can operate remotely, and help comes faster using technology. Technology has impacted all aspects of our life. I mean, that's stating the obvious. Deepak did mention about the way we buy stuff, the way we learn, the way we entertain ourselves. Everything has gotten impacted. And to be able to not only thrive but survive in respective industries, companies must adopt technologies, right from artificial intelligence to virtual reality or augmented reality, advanced analytics, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, a whole lot of stuff sitting over there. Uh, but you look at the distinguished panel, you know, they will tell you how inevitable technology is to business today. And I really want you to think about the panel today. And I know that's probably the best signal of how technology is proliferating our lives. There are 5 business people discussing the digital future forward. There is no IT head really here. There are 2 people with strong technology background. So Akash and Kalol, welcome. Then there is Rakshit and Sanjay from the travel and hospitality industries, who are arguably most hit by the pandemic. People have stopped traveling, people have stopped using hotels, stopped going to the restaurants, going to bars, etc., etc. And then there is Apul, who's the lone man representing the financial services industry, which is also facing a very tough business environment. You can't lend money, you can't collect money. So how do you enable your business? And the best thing is all of these guys are business people. Today, we will together try to decode what the business priorities and initiatives are and understand from our panelists how they are revving up tech adoption, and in the process, finding solutions for economic, social, and personal growth in the times of COVID. So, sincere welcome to all the panelists. Uh, Let me start by the most obvious questions. And this is actually to Akash and to Kalol, since you are the guys who have a ringside view of technology. Akash comes from Samsung and Kalol from Dell. Life must be hectic for you guys, you know, meeting customer requirements on the product side, on servicing side, um, to support large scale remote working, digitization of customer experiences, etc. So my question to you guys is, and this is just a warm-up question, guys, what is new in the area of technology development in your companies, and how do you see the future of technology over the next maybe 3 years? So let's start with Akash and then quickly roll over to Kalol. Akash, over to you.
Thanks, Vikas. It's a pleasure to be here today. Uh, if you look at from a technology perspective, and when I see in the hindsight, I think in terms of the processes and all the technologies, tools and technologies that we use today internally, I think we were already geared up for something like this, and there hasn't been any significant technology introduction per se. Our tools and technologies were already there in terms of being able to cater to the customer's requirement and to be able to engage with internally, because there's a lot of engagement that we did internally amongst the teams when COVID actually started and everything got to a shutdown. In fact, the amount of calls that were happening across between the teams to get them together, to make sure they all are okay, and to make sure that how do we go about conducting our business in this new scenario were all new things for us. This was something that has, even in our lifespan, has been absolutely new for us. We had, at least, I don't think any one of us has seen any situation like this where everything is shut down and you are working completely in remote. If you look at from technology perspective, the application, well, the biggest change that we see in the technology perspective is, of course, the advent of 5G. That is something which is going to really, 5G and IoT, AI, these are three things. And 5G is something that hopefully the trials should start and we should be seeing 5G launches probably end of the year or sometime next year. We already have launched the first 5G device in India with our Note 20 Plus Ultra. And 5G with the kind of speeds that are available, if you look at today, even today, if you look at the kind of VC that we guys are doing, this is absolutely seamless. There are no issues. We all have got high-speed links at home. I still remember my days when I started my journey at IBM. We used to have a very low speed, and internet used to be the big thing in '96. Okay, when I started at IBM, and it has been a big change today. So if you look at from a technology perspective, 5G is one which is definitely going to change. In terms of the devices that we are bringing in are also those technology changes which are really making the change in terms of being able to work highly productive at home. So if you look at it, it's all about how do you work productively and how does the productivity goes up. So if you look at today our devices, you don't need a laptop at home. I could just have my mobile phone and I could just connect it wirelessly to my television or to a monitor. And everything that we need to do on a laptop, which is typically MS Office or email or any of that stuff, presentation or an Excel, all that you can do remotely just using your phone. The phone has become so powerful these days that the capability of the phone is so high that we have built in these tools and technologies today where you can work seamlessly on your television and PC. The other thing is that we have got tablets and a bigger size tablets that we have launched, which are absolutely premium devices with a pan that comes in. And that's the other thing that we have done on the pan also, where there is a seamless integration and the speed at which you write on the device with the pan has been fantastic. And there's a lot of AI that we have used in that, where we are able to exactly using AI point out as to where the pan is going to move. As a result, we are able to make sure that the response time on writing on the tablet is as smooth and as good as you are actually writing on a piece of paper. So it is very good for students who are going to use it. And these days, education is becoming very important. All the schools and colleges are closed. Everything is happening online. So devices and a good communication, all that is going to play a very important role. And a pen in that case makes it highly productive because you can take notes. You can actually record a complete session. And that's the tools that Samsung provides, that on our phones and tablets, we have got a recording option available. So if you're doing a class, you just need to click on a record screen and everything that is happening on the screen, which means including a video, gets all recorded. So for students and even for teachers to see as to how they, because a lot of teachers were not used to conducting a online class, so to say, they were all on-site presence, physical presence. So there are a lot of changes and a lot of tools and technologies that we are bringing to the table. And I think this is where the world is moving in, where a lot of devices are going to be in play. We are already seeing, I was just checking on my, I have Orbi at home, and I was looking at how many devices. I realized that I never thought that I would have about 25, 26 devices in my home which are connected to the internet. And I still do not have a vacuum cleaner which is connected to the internet, or a refrigerator which is not yet connected to the internet. Think of the days which are going to come, which are already, Samsung has already launched refrigerators and washing machines in India, which are connected to the internet. So I think the 5G, AI, and IoT, along with the highly productive devices, are something which will really transform the future. It's already happening, and I see a major transformation moving forward.
So the big point is, there is technology available and being continuously developed, which will even replace laptops, and which will be available on mobiles. I mean, I'm reminded of what the earlier pioneers in computers would say, that computers are not for personal use, and then Microsoft happened, and how computers invaded our homes, and now we are actually carrying more power in the computing power in our pockets than even on laptops in front of us. So yeah, that's a great point. Cutting over to Kalol, would you take a stab at this question?
Sure. Thanks, Vikas. And thanks to all the panelists who are here today. And thank you for having me here. I think it's a topic which needs a lot of deliberation. And to start with, let me wind back to March 4th. And at Dell Technologies, in our office building, we had the dubious distinction of having the first COVID patient in Bangalore, actually. So one of our colleagues flew down from US, and then he was detected with COVID some 4 days after he landed. And prior to that, he was in office, he moved around. And so that was the initial days. I'm talking about March 4th, when it all started. And then what happened was we were all going to office. And on March 13th, we decided that we will all work from home. And suddenly you find around 40,000 people in India and 120,000 people globally started working from home. So that's a big shift. And right, like Akash mentioned, that some preparations were there. Dell has been pioneering the concept of work from home for a long time. And there are various plans and programs in place, including employee resource groups who help us in different areas of how to handle situations when you're working from home, how to handle the family part of it, how to handle the meetings, and so on and so forth. Now, having said that, there were some technology enhancements which were required as part of our access network and virtual private networks, because you have to get into a VPN to be secure and so on and so forth. Because earlier, maybe only 10,000 people were working from home, and now you have 120,000 people across the world started working from home. So a huge amount of effort went into making sure we have the right bandwidth, we have the right infrastructure. People were provided with laptops at home because a lot of them were actually desk workers in the office using desktop computers, not laptops. So how do you quickly make sure that everyone has a laptop which he or she can take it home? Surprisingly, after that was around April, I would say March, April. And then we did a survey in May and end of May, that what are people missing most as part of work from home. And guess what? The primary thing which came up in everybody's mind is, I'm missing the office chair. The chair became the point of concern for everyone, because everybody was using a dining chair or a sofa or whatever, and creating that home office environment became the next challenge, right? And I think I will contradict Akash here, that having the phone as the primary device is good, but you cannot continue looking at the phone throughout the day and continue all work on the phone. That becomes a challenge. One of my colleagues had actually purchased 2 laptops for their kids who were going to school. And guess what? After a week or 15 days, the kids come back and said that, Dad, this is not working because the screen size is too small. So having a large monitor because you're working every day from home, making sure you're using the right type of device becomes important. And that is the new normal we are facing now, because I don't see we moving back to the office this year at least, this physical year. I don't know what will happen next year. And whether the vaccine will work or not, we don't know yet. But this becomes the new normal. So coming back to your question, Vikas, as to what we have seen in the development area as far as Dell is concerned. Now, Dell is a manufacturing company. Dell is a retail company. Dell is what do you call sort of a online store, because you can buy Dell machines online. And a lot of developments which happen back end are not seen by the end user directly. What I mean by that is, yes, we manufacture laptops, we sell laptops which will enhance productivity of companies and their people. But what happens when the battery life elongates? How can we make the battery life longer? So we have introduced technologies which are called, a sensor on, presence on and presence off. What does that mean? That means that when you're in front of the laptop powers up and shows you the screen. As soon as you move out, it shuts down and basically conserves battery. So those are new technologies at the edge, which we are finding very interesting, because now that people are using laptops on a regular basis and they're not going to office and they want more power from their batteries, which is powering the laptop, I think it becomes important to conserve battery and make sure it can run for a longer period of time, because we know in India, power cuts are normal. Not everybody has UPS, and it becomes a challenge. How do I power my router? And you can power the router through the laptop itself. So those are technologies which are evolving and which end users can see. Now, Dell Technologies, as I was mentioning to Deepak, is a group of companies. We provide solutions from the edge, which is the edge devices, to the data center, we call the core, and then the cloud, which is becoming, all pervasive. You talk to anyone, he or she will talk about cloud, because cloud is the next big thing which is going to happen along with 5G. Now, we provide equipments at the edge and in the core data center and the cloud. So the example which I gave you is primarily at the edge. Now, what we have done in the data center equipment is very interesting. We are bringing in products like storage, like servers, which are actually tuned to a particular application like artificial intelligence, like AR, VR, right? We call it XR, augmented reality, virtual reality, or whatever you call it. Those are requiring different set of power, different set of features and functionality. So we are bringing that equipment. And on the other hand, we are using machine learning to augment our own product itself. Let me give some small example. All of you know that storage is consisting of either, solid state drives, which Samsung manufactures, of course, and some are old, spindle type drives. Where you write data becomes important, because that will determine the latency of retrieval. That means how fast you can retrieve the data. So what we do now is use machine learning to actually store data which can be retrieved faster, which the customer uses very often, right? So effectively what will happen is your entire response time, speed to respond to your customer, will go up if you use machine learning to store data. So such innovative things are happening within our product sets to give a better end user experience to our end customers. Finally, talking about cloud, I think all of us know that there are multiple hyperscalers like the Amazon, like the Google, like Oracle Cloud, IBM Cloud. And Microsoft, of course, Azure. There are multiple hyperscaler clouds which people use for a lot of applications. Now it's becoming like a big spaghetti challenge. I use Google for this, I use Microsoft for that. And customers are finding it difficult to manage the entire portfolio of cloud and which application goes where and so on and so forth. So what we have done is we have brought out a control plane which will work across clouds. So irrespective of where you put your workload, whether it's Google, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Azure or Amazon, you can manage your workload very efficiently through a single pane of glass, making life easier for IT folks and for people who are managing things. How does it relate to business and how does it relate to end user experience? Well, your systems will be better configured. You'll get better uptime. And third, which is very important, is your entire operations costs come down because with one person you can manage the entire cloud portfolio. So these are some of the things which I'm seeing happening, and this will have an overarching effect on how we serve our customers, what customers will do to enhance their customers and their service to their customers, and it'll have an I would say overarching impact on the overall scenario as far as technology is concerned. So that's a short answer to your question, Vikas.
It's very insightful, Kalol. In fact, I must admit that I have been a big fan of Dell, right from, when I first read Michael Dell's book, Direct from Dell. And I was a big fan, and I was actually very disappointed when you guys opened a brick and mortar shop. But great points brought out, including training on how to manage work from home. And the office chair point is an excellent, excellent point, Kalol. You said about, just to loop back on what Akash said, and you said you will disagree with Akash, but I think what Akash also mentioned was that you could actually beam up what's on your mobile on larger screens, and therefore, hopefully, as that technology stabilizes, what Akash mentioned. Right. You also were candid enough to, admit that there were areas of accessing network and VPN network, etc., which even a company like Dell had to struggle with in the initial part of the lockdown. So thanks for saying that, because otherwise I would have expected an answer called, no, we were completely ready. So we didn't have anything to, to put into place, unlike mere mortals like us who had to scurry around and do various things.
No, because the biggest challenge for us, was not the VPN, because VPN, we could talk to the government, get additional bandwidth or additional network capacity very fast. And trust me, that was the biggest, I would say, gain we had in this lockdown period, working, seamlessly with the government agencies and getting those upgrades done. The largest problem we had was organizing 4,000 laptops, because they were meant for customers. How do you move that for internal usage becomes a big challenge, right? And that is something we struggled with as far as the entire procedure was concerned. I think more than the bandwidth, it was the laptops, organizing laptops for our people, which was, more difficult, I would say.
Yeah. Akash, sorry, but I'm coming back to you on this one. Tell me about one process or two processes, which despite being in Samsung and at the cutting edge of technology, when this pandemic started, you had to relook at and kind of say that, oh, we need to digitize this process. Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I'll tell you only one major thing that we found was that we are a product company, but we are a very big supply chain management company. Just to make sure that, because we launch product every month and there are new products that keep coming in. So there, I think one challenge was that when you are working on a VPN on supply chain and SAP, then the kind of bandwidth and the response that you get becomes a big challenge. So that is where some of our SCM teams come into play and really try to figure out as to how we could create something which was slightly a lighter version with which people could work. So there was our innovation team which worked on that piece and tried to see how we could speed up the process. And we really created a tool with the help of which the entire process, the time that used to take. Earlier, we had to ask people who had really critical jobs where they couldn't do work from home for some of these areas to come to the office and actually sit in the office and then do it. So to make sure that given the situation that came and that happened where it was really tough, we had got so we have a innovation team within Samsung, which quickly and created a tool which really helped shorten the process of making this much faster in the overall process. So that was one of the areas, yes.
Thanks, Akash. This was actually a more of a feel-good question for all of us. You know, saying, okay, even the guys on the cutting edge of technology needed to fix something. So thank you so much for saying this. So let me just now pivot to Rakshit and Sanjay. You know, the hotel and the travel industry have probably been one of the most hit negatively by the pandemic. So while Akash and Kalol would be, you know, laughing all the way to the bank, Rakshit and Sanjay would not be in the same boat. You're in the business of care and high touch service. You know, you would be you would have been required to rethink your entire business strategy on how do I get customers in? How do I get customers to come into the hotels, customers to come and start traveling? So give us a peek into the business thought of getting customers and revenues back using technology. So let's go to Rakshit first and then to Sanjay. Rakshit, all yours.
So, firstly, thanks for having me on the panel. Really appreciate it. Enjoying the conversation. Look, I think the first part of this problem is acceptance, right? If you think it's going to go away very soon, then you're not very motivated to try and solve for it. But the reality of the situation is whether artificially or naturally certain constraints have been placed, and we have to find ways around that. I think, and I don't know what the right or wrong answers are, but what I can do is I can tell you how our thinking evolved through this situation, right? And because you're presented with various dilemmas, you have to ask yourself whether you're, or at least I had to ask myself whether I was committed to travel or I needed to pivot, right? And pivot being a much used and much abused word in situations like this. And I think our view is that whatever the duration of the constraints, the fact that you know, the human spirit for adventure and discovery isn't going to die easily, and that whether in measured terms or in very rapid recovery terms, the need and ability to travel will return, is something that we placed a very concentrated bet on, right? And if you say, okay, I was in the business of travel, I am in the business of travel, and that, you know, what does that involve? It involves enabling our customers to, you know, on the B2C side, achieve their dreams, and on the B2B side, achieve their ambitions, because, you know, it's about enabling business. Then what are the various things that we can do to do that, right? So we've got a business that facilitates cross-border payments, for example, and we've seen a lot more traction there, because whether, you know, particularly for students that are stuck, or people that have dependents across borders, we're seeing those flows sorts of pick up, and we kind of leverage that. We then, since we've got a business or a part of the business where we organize conferences and events, and we figured that actually the need for conferencing hasn't gone away. We, you know, our clients still have a strong desire to bring their teams together, but there is a physical constraint on being able to do that. So how is it that we can enable digital platforms where, you know, we can provide an experience that's similar to a physical event? So whether you're launching a new product, whether you're trying to inject energy into your distribution network, whether you're just trying to, you know, reward and recognize and motivate some of your own people, what are the sorts of things that we can do, and how can we bridge that digital and physical divide, right? So one is the ability to host events on digital platforms, and then we complement that with with physical experiences, like delivering a standard food and beverage solution to each delegate's home, and then coordinating and synchronizing the experience around that, or having a theme that is executed in a very distributed fashion, rather than we would do in a physically co-located space, or then get us, like Sanjay was saying earlier before we went live, get a small people or a small group of people together physically, but then broadcast universally, so that we could have different degrees of participation depending on what the objectives of that are. But I mean, the reality is that these are parts of the business. They may grow disproportionately to the core, but the core will need to come back for us to be relevant and for us to be viable as well.
Fair point. Sanjay, you want to address this?
Thank you, Vikas, and a very good morning and good afternoon to everybody. And I wish good health and well-being to all, and specifically to all the audience who are listening to us. I think I see in hundreds. So thank you very much for listening to us. Going to the question, Vikas, I think it is in two parts. It's not about getting the business back. It's about what do we do internally to generate confidence, to see how we can assure people, whether it is Rakshit's side or whether it is our side. I would like to draw the attention here that our industry is about emotion, it's about passion, it's about relationships. And that's how the industry runs, because people are looking at that. People are human beings, are emotional. So we need to see how we can add that humane factor in a technologically oriented world. How do you convey hospitality? How do you convey care? How do you convey your purpose? Through technology. That's the question we need to answer first, and then say, okay, now let's integrate it with technology and give that solution to our clients who are going to come. That is what is going to get us business. Business is going to come if your guests are assured that what is being offered to you is safe, because always, the mantra now would be safety first and well-being always. So you need to look at well-being and safety and then say, okay, this is what we can modulate, and see how we integrate that so that we can provide. Our business is about providing guest experiences. It's not about just a room. It's not just about a dish on the table. It's not just about another service at the hotel. It's how do you address that journey of that experience which a customer gets from a pre-arrival to a checkout or post that as well. So we need to look at how do you minimize contact and maximize care. So we need to look at all the components to that journey, what a guest goes through. We need to also see how do you do it with, minimize the contact, add digitisation to that, add tech to that, so that people are assured that when they come, and you need to see how you do various things in the hotel that get that revenue back, or that get the guests back, so that you are also preferred. It's not only about getting them back, it's also about being preferred and also creating differentiators. So one needs to see internally first how you create those differentiators, those assurances to your clientele to get that. So it's about feeding the senses, whether it is through the QR codes at the restaurants where there is no physical contact. You can, with your phone, scan the QR code and the entire menu is on your phone. It's about creating those private dining destinations. You could convert, let's say a suite into a dining area where a family can go because they know they are safe and they're comfortable with each other. So you could create those kind of venues where you can generate revenue with assurance. It's about curating with care, whether it is using automation to avoid physical contact. It's about enhanced digital amenities as well. For example, we have a World of Hyatt app now, where the journey is up to you. It is up to you how you choose to engage with us, whether you want to come to the reception for your key, or you want to open the door of your room through your mobile phone. And I thank all the digital innovations and which have come in, that they have provided us the ability to do all these, to minimize contact. So it's about all those things. How do you do this? So it's for us, the question to answer is, how do we convey hospitality, passion and emotion and create a relationship by integrating these services with tech? And that will be the answer. How do you get more guests into your hotel and create those differentiators? So a little different perspective, but I personally am of the opinion it is up to us. The question to answer would be, how do you integrate hospitality into tech? And that's what we are working on.
No, I think both of you, Rakshit and Sanjay, both of you have made excellent points. Rakshit spoke about acceptance. Yes, I know of many businesses which were in a complete state of denial, and to be able to accept that this is the new reality. And I think, Rakshit and Sanjay, both of you connected on one thing, which is Rakshit spoke about the need to travel in mankind will not change. Okay, and that's a fundamental point. And similarly, Sanjay, you spoke about connecting purpose to business, and I think that is the fundamental. There's a foundation of any business to be clear about about the purpose. And you spoke so passionately about emotion, passion, assurance, care, and you connected all of that. So thank you very much for saying what you did, Sanjay.
Thank you.
Apul, obvious question first, and then I'll go to the not so obvious question later. How has your business revved up technology adoption in the last 5 months to not only survive but thrive in the COVID era?
Sure. So first of all, Vikas and the rest of the panelists, thank you very much for this session, and all our viewers as well. Thank you very much for logging in. So at Hero Group, Vikas, we are at the cutting edge of adopting technology, whether it is for our two-wheelers, or we sell more than 10 million two-wheelers in a year, or it is about financial services products wherein we attach affordability layer to each of these products. All our origination, onboarding from more than 95% of the zip codes in India happens completely digitally. The appraisal process is also digital. The underwriting as well as disbursal, as well as the payment collection process, more than 90% of that is digital. So, one of the things that the industry has gone through over the last 3 months, because of the lockdown, obviously, the customers, had cash flows kind of issues. So how through a digital interface, we could, bring in that level of empathy, connect with our customers, and ensure that we provide them a bridge to tide over this relatively, I would say, relatively tough period. I think was a pivotal change for the industry to have gone through. But at the same time, there's so much work which has happened on the payment side, as Deepak earlier pointed out. 1.5 billion transactions happening on UPI and so on and so forth. Most of our customers were able to actually digitally make payments to us. The other work that is happening is on the data side. The data analytics. There's a lot of structured as well as unstructured data available. How are you partnering with hyper grocers, hyper sales organizations in helping them provide working capital loans for their supply chain, as well as provide affordability to those customers, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of digital trails which are getting built, and there's commerce underlying in those digital trails, which the financial services industry is leveraging on. There is a lot of work happening on contactless onboarding of the customers. There's a lot of work happening on hyper personalization, in the sense activities wherein customers are frequently, like in your bank accounts and so on and so forth, customers are frequently making leaving digital trails on by making payments, and each payments or receiving payments or making action. Each of these payments, receipts, as well as payments made, is becoming a cause of action for hyper personalization, wherein people are looking at technology to make multiple engagements with the customers on the front end, and eventually support them in their initiatives, as well as provide a seamless environment to the customers. At Hero, when it came to the lockdown days, one of the key points was how do we connect with our employees. So we had more than 40,000 digital sessions throughout the company, wherein whether it was informal sessions, some technical and product skills related sessions, or how do we adopt technology and make a lean business proposition, those kind of sessions. So we worked a lot on mental health of our employees while staying connected and so on and so forth. So one of the good things which is happening is with the advent of 5G, the entire, as well as, account aggregators and all digital partners which are available in the country today, and a very complex transaction like a home loan or on the lending side can also be simplified with an end-to-end digitization and automation, wherein, we're making a way for document-less environment or no document environment over a period of time, wherein the buyer and seller will come, and there will be a custodian like an NSDL or CDSL over a period of time, who will have the property documents of the who will be having the custody of the property documents of the customer, and the buyer and the seller will engage in a contactless environment and make the transaction happen. This innovation is akin to what happened in the capital markets, I think a couple of decades back, and we saw both velocity as well as volume of trades going up phenomenally post that. The other thing which is helping the industry is the vision of housing for all. A lot of states are also becoming digitally savvy, whether it's e-search of property title documents or registration and so on and so forth. A lot of those activities have now moved online. So all in all, financial service sector, as you're aware, is a backbone of the economy. So what we try and do is, we try and bring things together and make commerce happen. And in a digital world, it is that much more seamless.
Fair point. And but before I move on, I just want to hear from you, Apul. When this whole lockdown happened, and since then you've been steering the ship so ably. What processes that you wish you had digitized earlier? There is always this aha moment. I mean, I'm also part of a business, and there was this aha moment at times when you said, why didn't I think of this earlier? We could have done this many moons back. What was that aha moment for you?
As far as most of our processes, Vikas, we were pretty much online. You imagine the geography that we cover, 95% of the zip codes and more than 150,000 transactions in a month. It's impossible to not have a cloud-based architecture around originating and servicing these clients. The thing is that probably I think one of the things that we could have looked at better is probably digitally connecting with the larger teams. We were always, I'm sure it's true for every industry. We were always waiting for that convention to happen, for people to travel in and have that physical one-to-one connect and so on and so forth. Which with the onset of COVID, was just too seamless, and the planning and the all requirement of making it happen was just by sending a Zoom link or a Google Next meeting link to everyone and getting them to log in and hear their views, their challenges, their what innovation and opportunities lie at their end, and so on and so forth. So what is happening is it is enabling people at the top connect with the ground a lot sooner. So I think, and we did more than 40,000 such sessions over the last 3-4 months. And I think, it's all brought us closer than we were in the physical world.
Fair point. No, absolutely.
Well, one of the things which I wish, I think it's not a piece of furniture that I miss in my work from home session, but it's my team. I wish that, as much as we adopt technology, that element of human connect and connecting with the team, I wish we could do more of such sessions. I'm sure with the way things are opening up, as Rakshit as well as Sanjay pointed out, more of that will become possible in days ahead.
Absolutely, and I'm going to touch upon this a little later. Right now, we're just focusing on the economic aspect of technology, but I really want to touch upon the social aspect and the personal aspect a little later. And that's when I'm going to circle back on this, couple of points that you made here. Uh, you did speak about connecting with empathy, and I think that's something that's extremely important, especially when people are working from home. You're working from home and suddenly the dog barks or the bell rings or the cooker in the kitchen whistles, and people are embarrassed. But I think these are the sounds of humanity, and we will need to accept them and celebrate their presence in our lives. So connecting with empathy, I think, was a great point that you made. And hyper customization, I mean, lesser said about it, the better. I mean, you're almost scared at times with the kind of hyper customization that's happening. Mental health, again, I will come back when we talk about work from home. Great point about governments becoming digital. And you gave the parallel of the capital markets, and how actually it was driven by SEBI coming in, and NSE coming in, and therefore there was a lot more adoption of technology which happened, and which propelled the capital markets into a very different league. Way back in NSE was set up in 1997 and 1994, and at that time the volumes in the capital markets in the Bombay Stock Exchange used to be about 80 crores a day. Okay, and today we are talking about hundreds of thousands of crores of thing happening, volumes happening.
So the interesting element is because I think the capital markets is now, I think, 1 times GDP, almost close to 1 times GDP. I think it went down and came back again. Just imagine 70% or 80% of the wealth of Indians is in physical assets. I think that's an opportunity waiting to be waiting to be leveraged by effective use of technology. 70 to 80% of physical assets of 12 trillion of Indians embedded in physical assets, and just imagine what technology can do to that.
Yeah. So while while Sanjay was speaking, Sanjay mentioned about how customer behavior will change towards safety first. Okay, and I think that is leading me to the next question, and I'll rather open it to you, Apul, and to Rakshit, and maybe you can take a break and let Rakshit take the first go at this first stab at this question. Rakshit and Apul, what do you think will be the impact of the pandemic on customer behavior in your industry? And what are some of the irreversible changes the pandemic has caused in your industry?
So I think in any form of extreme distress, whether pandemic or otherwise, what we find is that the ecosystem has a higher tendency and propensity to collaborate, and for standards to emerge, and for those standards to be adopted, and so on and so forth. And I think what will happen, what the windows of opportunity that will get created here will be around a lower resistance to change in both customer environments as well as supplier environments to do business differently, and for a greater degree of standardization of process and delivery to emerge. Even in simple things like compressing working capital cycles through digital submission of invoices, digital settlements. In our experience, that took 7 or 8 days just out of the working capital cycle, right? Just because we were able to present and settle digitally. And that's, that kind of capital productivity is quite, it's quite a multiplier if a small business like us can get that kind of benefit, and you extrapolate that over the entire macroeconomic environment. That can be quite a multiplier in itself, right? So I think that's what we will see more of. I think customers will be more open to self-service, self-fulfillment, technological delivery of some of the services that we offer. Maybe the threshold for the requirement for human intelligence will increase. And I think the more routine tasks can be self-fulfilled or self-service, and I think the payment and settlement processes will simplify and make things easier for everyone. I think those are the two basic sort of things that I see right now.
Okay. Apul?
Yeah, because so interestingly, the way we are looking at technology evolving as well as customer responding to that technology, to the evolving technology, is that we are envisioning a branchless environment. What is happening is branches becoming smaller, but eventually, if everything is online, if you can search for property paper online, you can actually do digital interaction and actually register your property online. You can pass a lien of the property online. Eventually, and through AI tools as well as machine learning tools, you can eventually underwrite a customer also by using all the scientific methods without a such judgment bias online. Eventually, we are envisioning that the handset, whether it's whether it's Samsung, Apple, or Android or Apple, whichever handset that the customer has, will become a bank branch. It has happened in a lot of countries. If you look at, I think, Poland, there's a classical example of mBank, which is a challenger bank, and it's a digital-only bank, wherein 80 to 90% of customer interactions and more than 80 to 90% of customer interactions, as well as engagements, has moved completely online. What I would also say is that there is some amount of resistance in certain, and that has to do with probably demographics, wherein customers are probably that there is some level of trust deficit. But we are seeing, in anything, in COVID also, as Rakshit pointed out, acceptance. So it takes a while before customers start accepting the new normal, new reality. And in the aim of personal hygiene and safety, I think there will be a shift and adoption of a digital end-to-end interaction, even with a service agent, sales agent, as well as a customer agent, which will obviate the need for brick and mortar branches over a period of time. If for not something which is happening is a 5,000 square feet branch is already becoming less than 200, 300 square feet, and so on. So, and it will continue to perish as we move along. But millennials are adopting technology. More than 90% of the millennials are doing all the banking transactions and financial services transactions online by using digital tools, which is a good part.
No, absolutely. I mean, I don't think our children have seen the post office. Okay, they haven't, they haven't seen a post box, and I think this is the generation which will stop seeing bank branches also, because everything will become so digitally available.
So with the demographic dividend that we have, I think we will see an exponential shift in technology adoption over the next 5 to 10 years.
Oh, yes. If not earlier, because India always kind of jumps over technology phases, and like for example, the mobile technology was adopted much faster in India than some of the other developed nations. So I guess that demographic dividend that you're saying could actually play out much earlier than what we think.
Yes.
Akash and Kalol, I want to circle back to you and ask you, what are the permanent changes do you see in the customer behavior which could positively impact your businesses? One is this whole rush to digitization. Of course, I mean that is one thing which is it's not that we are, now that we have opened our eyes to the possibility that there could be a situation that we will all work from home. I don't think we will ever be caught so unaware as we all were when this pandemic started. But apart from that, is there any particular trait or particular customer behavior that you are seeing that is permanently changing and which could positively impact your businesses? So, Kalol, you want to go first?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Vikas. And interesting perspective which Rakshit and Apul gave regarding the customer. I think it's happening in all industries and across all verticals, which we see in our day-to-day interaction with customers. Having said that, I think from our point of view, two things are happening, which I think are important changes from the mindset point of view. The first is, of course, earlier we had salespeople going and meeting customers, trying to, do a proof of concept of a particular technology or a solution. Now, all that is gone out of the window. because you can't go and meet the customer face to face, or their IT teams, infrastructure teams, or business leaders also, like the chief digital officer or whatever. Having said that, what's happening is a lot of meetings are happening on Zoom and Microsoft Teams and all these WebExes, which is enabling us to get connected with a lot of senior executives in our customer organizations, because now they can come on Zoom. Now they're not traveling, so time is relatively available. I would say relatively, because they have a lot of other tasks to fulfill. And same thing is happening for our executives on the Dell side. For example, it was very difficult to get a senior executive for a meeting with our customers earlier. And now maybe we see that happening on a regular basis, that, our senior executives are also available for Zoom meetings and Zoom calls on video with our customers, which are helping us to, fasten the process of decision making at the customer end also. So that's one positive change I would see happening, because even if there is a time lag between our executives wherever they are seated, maybe in Asia Pacific or in Singapore or in the US, we can find a convenient time in the evening for people to convene and have that meeting. So that is a very positive aspect of the entire business cycle which I'm seeing. The second is, related to documentation, paperwork, and all that. As I said, you were saying, Vikas, earlier about the Dell supply chain. It's a Harvard case study. Actually, the Dell supply chain is one of the industry's best supply chain related to manufacturing and number of inventory terms we can make, and the, of course, related ecosystem players who come and feed that supply chain. Having said that, what's happening now is those digital copies are going straight into the supply chain, rather than having physical invoices, physical order copies and all that, which get signed, uploaded, and then goes to the system, which used to take at least a week's time from that manual process to the digital. And now customers are sending digital copies of their invoices or of their orders, which are getting directly fed into the supply chain, as a result of which I think the predictability of sharing the data with our customers as to when the equipment and goods will arrive is enhanced quite a lot, and customers are liking it. So these are two things which I think are important from the current scenario. One is, of course, getting executives on meetings and on calls, and second is the supply chain interfacing with the customer supply chain, I would call it, which is the order procurement and order fulfillment supply chain which the customer has. And these two have, I would say, now moved to a permanency, because even if the pandemic goes away, we can always call customers for a meeting with our senior executives without traveling. That is, people need not travel and ask for those meetings or get into conference room for those meetings. But that definitely, as Apul rightly said, we are also missing our teams, physical touch and feel of teams. But that's the new normal we have all come to accept, and that is something which is going to stay for a considerable amount of time.
Yeah. No, I think very nicely put. We are now interfacing actually with people much more than we earlier did. Earlier, if I had to meet one client in Bangalore, it meant a whole day.
Yeah.
It was only a question of 1 hour. So yes, I think it's a fantastic point, and it will bring in a whole lot of velocity to businesses. Akash, your views?
See, well, most of what Kalol said is true for us as well, but I would like to add a couple of more points. One is that I think the customers were aware about the security part of it, the security of the data. And now I think with COVID and the lockdown and a lot of employees accessing all kinds of data on their devices, security is becoming something of really paramount importance. And the good part is that we have solutions called as Knox, which really separates the device into a work area and a play area. So the good part is that on the same device, you could do your personal stuff. On the same device, you have got a work area, which is a container where all the documents are completely secure, which means that if I take a picture which is taken in a personal area, I can't really take it and move it to my work area. Similarly, from any document which comes in my work area, any document, let's say a PPT or a doc that I get on my email, I can't connect it to my Yahoo. It cannot move across. So it's an absolutely secured area. And only way that you can send out the file is that you will have to use your Office email client to send it out. So security is one thing which is becoming very important, and it was important earlier also, but I think with people working from home and remote areas, this is something which is really helping from businesses in terms of the solutions that were there. Customers are able to appreciate those much more now. Similarly, other thing which was happening was that if you look at an organization which is looking at deploying a large number of devices across the country. So we have had a lot of customers who came to us during COVID where they were looking at deploying devices, and they wanted certain policies to be applied to the devices. They wanted a certain apps to be installed. That's where Samsung again had an excellent MDM solution, but that really came into play in this time, and customers could see the real value there, where now we are able to ship the devices as it is to multiple locations across the country. We did that. For multiple employees, we shipped the devices to their homes. And when the employees opened the box, a sealed box from Samsung, so it has not been opened by anyone, they open the box, they take the device out, whether it's a tablet or it's a mobile phone. And as soon as it connects to the internet, the wallpaper, the application username, password, if required, all those things were automatically configured. To the extent that anything that customers wanted to configure, they couldn't, everything could be configured remotely. And that was the biggest part in terms of enrollment. So it was a remote enrollment, and remote enrollment of the devices was happening. And any push or updates that needs to be done, that was done. Third thing which also happened was that given what all is happening on our borders, I think what Samsung did was a lot of investments in India. And that is something again which a lot of our customers are looking at, made in India and made for India. In fact, Samsung has been creating products for made for India and for Indian consumers. And that is something again which is very good, where a lot of customers are really appreciative about the made for India, and they're looking for products during such times which are made for India products. So manufactured in India and created for Indian customers. So that is the third piece, which is really a positive outcome. I think that will overall help India build up in terms of the infrastructure or the stuff that we are putting up to become a self-sustenance economy.
All right, so I'm curious. I'm just very, careful about time. It's already 12:15. We'll just spend about 5 minutes going over the questions. There are some good, interesting questions which are available on the chat, and maybe I can just throw it at you guys, and you can just answer it very, very quickly. First question from Rupali Mahajan. Countries like South Korea and Norway have adopted 5G very well. So why is it that our country always takes time to match the pace in terms of technology? So Akash, you want to take a stab at this?
Well, I'll tell you, some of these technologies in terms of being created have been created. So South Korea, as an example, Samsung has been the pioneer on 5G technology. In fact, we are now working on we have white papers today on 6G and 7G already. So 5G is something that we had tested almost a long time back, almost 2-3 years back in Korea, and that gives the headway to make it deployed in those countries first. So where all the technology is being created, it's being deployed there. And India, as I think you mentioned, because one of the panel members mentioned, India in terms of adoption of technology has been very good. The kind of coverage, if you look at, we have done on 4G with, I can talk about Geo because we have worked with Geo, and the entire backend has been the Samsung infrastructure. The way Geo ramped up was all the technology that was being brought up. So I think it is also a question of we as Indians would like to take a technology which is well proven, tested, tried, and then deploy it in a large scale. I think that's where we are. And I think I would say that I've myself seen a huge transformation in terms of adoption of technology. I can give you an example. In 82, I traveled to Japan and I was fascinated by escalators. And I kept going up and down on escalator when I went there. I was a kid then. And we had Coke vending machines in Japan on the road in 82. Okay. Then I went in 96 to Japan again, and I didn't see any change whatsoever. Then I went again to Japan after 10, 15 years, and I didn't see any change again. Right? The same bullet trains, everything was right there. But if you look at India, we have come through a big change, huge change. We are still not there in terms of vending machines being available on the road. Yes, that piece is missing, but in terms of whether it is color television or escalators or new technologies adoption, I think we are pretty good at that. And I think going forward, it will only improve, is all I can say.
Thanks so much for that. One more question, the last one I'll take up, Kalol, if you can handle this.
Sure.
Why is it that we are not in the list of inventors as a country? Will India ever become a Silicon Valley? So, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a fair point and fair question. Having said that, we are seeing a lot of innovation happening in the country today. When the startup ecosystem happened, and I'm not talking about Make in India now, but I'm talking about 3, 4, or 5, or even 7 years ago, when the entire startup ecosystem happened, we had Flipkart just coming and saying that we want to sell books, and this is what and actually I was told, I was not in Dell that time, that they'd come to Dell to borrow some servers and desktops to start their operation, and Dell had provided that. And look at where Flipkart has reached today in terms of reach, and company has become part of Walmart now, and so on and so forth. So there is a propensity of startups becoming large in India. I think in the payment systems, PhonePe, for example, or Paytm, or those sort of companies who are doing phenomenal work in the area of something which is very unique to India. You go to any other part of the world, you will not find a PhonePe or a Paytm working so effectively for a huge population, which is basically covering the entire demographics. And as Apul said, 95% of PIN code users can actually use the UPI system to do those payments. So it's happening. It will happen. But are we there like Silicon Valley? Obviously not, in terms of product development, in terms of whatever is unique there. But from India standpoint, I would say that we are a software and services company, services country. So if we look at those two, services and software, and look at how we can bring world-class products around those, we are there, and we will be proliferating that to a very great extent. I think it's happening, but not happening at the pace we would like it to happen.
Okay.
Because I'd like to make a point over here as well. From an innovation perspective, if you look at it, I think edtech startups in India, on the edtech side, I think India has made a reasonable amount of innovation. Probably led the path for the whole industry for the globe. In addition to payments.
Yeah, Byju's and all are doing a phenomenal job. Yeah.
Yes.
Fair point. Thanks for stepping in, Apul. So Ritika asks a question which leads me to the second part of this conversation, which is, and I would really like Sanjay, you to take a stab at this question, and maybe Apul, you can also talk about it. The question is, will social distancing also distance human emotions? And the reason I pick up Sanjay and Apul for this is not for any other reason, but because Sanjay, you spoke about connecting with purpose. And Apul, you spoke about connecting with empathy, and what you miss most is meeting your team members. So I think this would be a question that would be that you probably guys could look at. Will social distancing also distance human emotions?
So because you spoke about purpose, right? I think if you give me a minute, I'll like to elaborate a bit on purpose here. There's a very nice incident which happened while we were in the journey of defining our purpose at Hyatt. And we were looking, there's a very important word which came up some time back, which was empathy. Now, if you look at empathy, that leads to actually purpose. And we said, okay, what is empathy and how do you define empathy so that, it can lead to your purpose? So we were doing all these empathy interviews or speaking to our associates, our customers, and a varied set of people. So one of our associates came up with this saying that I don't need to know you to serve you, but I need to know you to care for you. So there is where the differentiation was made that, if I talk to you, if I engage with you, I would have the ability to care for you more. And that led us to our purpose, which was we care for people so that they can be their best. Now, how do you now map it with technology? Now, when all of you go to our hotels and various other hotels too, there is where technology helps us in seeing what you like, what happened at the previous hotel or something else which happened. And that gives us the ability that when you go to the next destination, the technologies allows us to care for you more. So empathy actually leads to technology and technology leads to care. I'm just connecting those dots here. It's a very different perspective. But during this conversation, this thought came that, yeah, it is actually we unknowingly, and we don't even realize this, but this happens, right? Now, coming back to your question the question there from the audience about social distancing, I think initially it would affect, but if you look at amongst ourselves, social distancing actually has brought us closer, right? We are away from our families, but earlier we would not keep in touch so much when we had the ability or the option to be close to them. But now when we started missing them, we want to be in contact more with them. So we are using all these digital and technological solutions to be in touch with them. And the missing of that has actually drawn us closer. Will this continue? Maybe not. But then we'll also have a better world as we go along, and hopefully we'll get over this virus shortly, and then we can be back together. But this has taught us, this social distancing has taught us the humane value which exists between relationships and between us, and how we need to really care for that and give a lot of importance to that, because it's one life, right? And it's a short life. So I would address it that way.
Thank you, Sanjay. That was extremely useful. How you connected purpose and technology. I like that bit about purpose, empathy, leading to care through technology. So that's great. Apul, your take quickly.
Yeah, so I completely agree with Sanjay. What has happened is that it's not social distancing. It is physically distant, but socially closer. That is the last 6 months of operation, which has done to us. What I miss is the physical distance, but socially, I am connected with my team probably much more frequently and perennially than in the pre-COVID kind of a world. So that I think is a very important part. The mental well-being as well as health of people everywhere and anywhere is coming to the senior levels of management a lot faster than it was in the pre-COVID world. So you're able to actually do interventions and connect with the person a lot more frequently than was possible in the pre-COVID world.
Good point.
Vikas, I would just like to add one comment here, which is related to technology and related to what Sanjay said. I think it's very important. So I was checking into a hotel before the pre-COVID era I'm talking about. And at the reception, I didn't know the people there because it's the second or third time I'm coming into that hotel. And the receptionist, before giving any documents of mine or before even exchanging any cards, said, "Welcome back, Mr. Hazra." So I was slightly intrigued. How did she know my name without even looking at any of the documents? And since I am slightly inquisitive, I asked her, "So how did you find out my name?" So then she had to reveal that there's a camera on top of her, which is scanning my face and actually going through an AI system and pulling up my name as part of the records and saying that, that's the type of technology help you can get. So it's customized. I felt good because she knew my name when I checked in, even before exchanging any documents or passport or whatever it is. So that's the type of help technology provides. And there were a lot of questions on AI. Just give me 1 minute. I'll just talk about those because a lot of people who have logged in have asked about AI and what will happen to jobs and all that stuff. So at Dell, we had done a survey last year in 2019 with IETF, Institute of the Future, it's called. And then clearly what happened was 3 different shifts came in. The first shift was the inclusive talent, and which says that human and machines partnership will continue and will be more equitable. It also says that whatever jobs will be available in 2030, we can't even guess now. Actually, it's that bad. So forget about training, forget about skilling, but we don't even know what jobs will be there. So the first is inclusive talent. Human and machine partnerships will create more equitable workplace by evaluating candidates based on the capability rather than gender, age, class. And 86% of Indian business leaders expect using new technologies to create equal opportunities by removing all the human bias decisions, right? The second is empowered workers. And this is where the robots and the AI systems will play a very big role. XR, I would say AR, VR. At Dell, for example, we are using augmented reality to help our service engineers to open up machines by pointing the camera, whether it's an Android or Apple camera, and that AR system actually goes back, fetches data from the backend, what needs to be looked at, how do you service the machine, and so on and so forth. So that's already happening, and it's happening in a very big way. So earlier we used to depend on training of that engineer, go through several openings and closings, figure out troubleshooting and all that. Now the AR system will guide you to do that. So it will coexist. Whatever we are calling it will coexist. So AI fluency will become very, very important. I can give you a link of this paper. It's a very nice paper which we had published. Human capital will not be replaced by AI, but it will rather augment it. So those who are thinking that AI will take away jobs and all, it's not true, I would say, but it will just augment what you're doing today and help you become better workers in the workplace. And that we are seeing even today, right? So that's two bits about it, because there are a lot of questions on AI and robotics.
Well, I'm glad that you picked it up because it is segueing very well into what I was planning to take up next, which is on the social impact, of the social growth. But I think you've opened up the whole, the whole can here. And let me just ask the same question about impact of technology on employment to Rakshit as well as to Sanjay, as to what do you think will be the impact of technology? The more and more technology we adopt, the additional thought is it will mean job losses, it will mean lesser number of people being employed, and therefore there will be a big impact there. But what's your take on this aspect, Rakshit and Sanjay?
Look, my view is that the total number of jobs typically doesn't shrink in any economy, right? It's just that demand for employment moves across sectors. And I was just answering a question on the text box saying that, look, if you look at the e-commerce revolution, yes, it created lots of tech jobs, but it also created lots of jobs for drivers and stockists and warehousing labor and movers and truckers and so on and so forth. So I don't think it's fair to say that tech decimates jobs. It can disrupt industries. Like it has a great capacity to disrupt physical retail, for example, but it doesn't dent the overall number of jobs in an economy. What gets problematic is employability. So we won't have an employment problem, but we'll have an employability problem, which is we might have a large section of society that doesn't have skills that are valued by that society because the demand pattern in that society has shifted. And I think that's what we need to be cognizant of, because generally, I think as a country, our track record in producing employable talent is poor.
Okay, Sanjay, you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, excellent comments by Rakshit. I think he actually said it very aptly, that it's not about the jobs, it's about realigning of the skill set. It's how it's actually now the onus lies on us as all of us together. How do we give that feedback not only to the people we have in our industries or in our companies, but also to the institutes or to the people who are getting ready to join us, to join our families in these businesses, that what realignment is required for them to be successful. As far as scarcity of jobs, as Rakshit rightly said, it's not that the jobs will be lesser. It's, for example, right now maybe you will require X number of associates in the hotel, but you have more hotels opening, so you could employ those people in those hotels. And by the time when we come to a stage where we have more number of people, it's about demand and supply, right? And by that by that time we would have reoriented or realigned the people to be ready for those kind of jobs as we go forward. And hopefully this won't last long. So I think there is hope.
Thank you so much. It's already 10:32. Sorry, 12:32, and Deepak had told me to 12:30. So I'll just take one last question. One last question, Deepak, if you'll permit me to ask the gentleman here.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead, please. Yes.
You have to answer this question, okay? Work from home. We've been doing this for the last 5 months. We've not had household help, so some of us have picked up brooming, washing the utensils, cooking, etc., to help at home. One piece of personal equipment that you wished you had bought before the lockdown happened. Yes, Kalol. Everybody has to answer this, Kalol. So go ahead. So Kalol, Akash, then Sanjay, Rakshit, and then Apul. Please go ahead.
I would say iRoomba, which is the digital cleaner at home.
Yeah.
The broom and all.
Your core isn't built up, Kalol, because you had that machine. Okay.
Yes.
Akash.
I would say we just launched a new product, and I wish it was launched earlier, but we just launched it in India, Tab S7 Plus. And I am sitting here in Bangalore, and all these products come in Gurgaon first, where our headquarters are. So I'm just awaiting that product. I should be getting it today. And that is something which is a really large screen with a fantastic capability in terms of the pen that I said, and a lot of productivity tools that are coming in. So would have loved to have that earlier, but yes.
But Akash, that will not help you improving the room. Trust me.
Improving the room?
This is one of the most sophisticated sales pitches I've seen, Akash. Huh? Well done. Sanjay, over to you. Personal equipment that you wish you had before the lockdown.
Apul, you're on mute.
Yeah. So, Kalol, it's better than Dyson vacuum cleaner, Roomba?
I think both are similar, but Roomba can climb steps and all that, I believe. I've not checked it out.
So the good part is that we have a flat home. So I think the existing vacuum cleaner that we bought in the lockdown should do the trick.
But you don't know whether Kalol is living in a penthouse. Huh?
No. I am in a single floor flat apartment. So,
yeah. Sanjay, what do you?
So I think a hot plate.
Hot plate.
An induction plate.
Okay.
I really required it.
It clearly tells us that you are living far away from your family. Thank you so much. Rakshit, what about you?
Yeah, I can't think of anything because it really hasn't been, and maybe there was some degree of physical hardship here and there, but I've really enjoyed time with the family, and for somebody who travels 20 days a month, it's actually been it's been a blessing in disguise, and I think I feel like I've been on a very long summer holiday.
Oh, so Rakshit, I can suggest something for you. It's a motorized table which can go up, so you can stand and work and sit and work also. I had to purchase that because
motorized what? Table.
Table. So the table can go up and down based on whether you're standing or.
Okay. Yeah. Kalol, we live in Bombay. We have tiny houses. We have no room for tables. I walk and work.
Okay.
Yeah, so because I think it's not as sophisticated as Kalol pointed out, but we did get a vacuum cleaner in the lockdown. In terms of equipment, yes, I miss my table, which has those rotary. It goes up and down from the office. A skill that probably I work well on is I've become adept at making good omelets now. So I'm not sure there is any equipment that can help me, but that is what happened during the lockdown. And yes, I enjoy my time with the family.
At least there's one happy soul in the Nair family. Mrs. Nair.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. For me, it was actually a dishwasher. So, I wish we had bought this Bosch machine much earlier than we did, but anyway, all's well.
I'm trying to get some space done in my kitchen for a dishwasher. I don't have today.
That's a luxury because you don't do the dishes, Kalol. Okay, the day you start doing dishes, this luxuries will disappear. Okay, you immediately buy a machine.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough of saying. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'll hand over the session back to Deepak. But it's been so enjoyable talking to all of you. I didn't think it was going to be so much fun, especially technology and me. It's like, I never thought I would actually conduct a webinar on technology, for God's sake. But yeah, thank you, Deepak, and thank you, for providing us this opportunity.
So because before we wind up, one suggestion for the insurance industry, I think that is something which I'm facing right now in terms of how technology can be a deterrent also. So my car insurance was up for renewal in September. And since August, I've been bombarded with calls from various companies and various companies calling multiple times. Though I have renewed my insurance, I'm still getting calls, right? So how can we get that data privatized to the extent that once it's done, you get into a D&D? I think that is something you have to work on. Because
Kallol, this must be for your multiple cards, not one.
Oh, this is for one card. One card.
And I think, think about data.
I think
and stuff like that.
I think outstanding conversation. Kind of a piece which I love doing towards the end of every webinar, because you did this. I think it's beautifully moderated. And technology bringing a lot of smile in everybody. I think it was wonderful, and I think the two massive forces which are working together are fearfulness and openness to change and experiment. And I think that's what the bringing the technology into the forefront of everything. And I'm just going to add on a few things what Vikas just brought up. So Sanjay, induction plate. So what have you been cooking on the induction plate? Yeah, you should tell us that. You've been an F&B guy, yeah. So I'm sure there must be something new that came up on that.
So there are two words to it: cooking and experimenting. So first it is experimenting, then experimenting, which leads to cooking. So I have not reached that stage yet. So this is my skill of cooking.
Well, don't worry, none of your chefs are listening to this conversation, so you can talk about, what has been that you've been experimenting. Is it with the chicken, fish, prawns, broccoli? I mean, what are you doing there?
No, I'm also checking the tall claims which the companies make. Like this induction plate has those preset buttons where it says idli, where it says saute, where it says cooker. So I'm checking how good they are and how true they are to their claims. So I put the stuff on it and see if the idli is made on the idli icon or not. So I'm trying all of it. Yeah. So tried cooking. I haven't cooked for a long time. I actually never cooked. That's something which, if you say I enjoy, no, I don't. But I found that I can do it. And I sent pictures to my wife and to the family. They were more shocked than actually that I could do this for myself. We were away for this lockdown. So yeah, but I think it has taught me a lot, which is good.
And Apul, these bulging biceps, are these recently made, or are they the college secrets that's still coming out? Yeah.
No, I think they've got hyper enhanced by technology. I think so. I think I do a lot of my virtual sessions with the trainer. I'm not sure this is a time for bulk. This is a time for lean. That's what technology makes us become. But maybe my distance with the camera might be causing the biceps to bulge. But yes, throughout the lockdown, I think staying fit was another thing. I think all of us probably found time for, and connected with all our trainers, whether it's strength or whether it's resistance or whether it's cardio, and we did well in. One of the other things was why I took to cooking omelets is I come from, my entire house is vegetarian, and I'm the only person who's non-vegetarian. And in this garb of becoming useful at home, I said, okay, let me pick up something that I can do. But I think what happened when plate comes to the table and we're sitting at the table, I can only feed myself. So that was it.
Nice. And what is this message on the wall behind here? I mean, I'm just trying to read that, but can't make it.
Okay, this is for my son's room. So it says, why fit in when you're born to stand out?
Well, that's very well decorated room. This is my son's room, with all the stickers on the cupboard. So yeah, Rakshit, I've heard people creating marathon records in the Bombay balcony. So small homes, big homes. Bombay is anyway making big news, but I've heard that you're a man of instinct. Yeah, that's what people call you. So what is that bravest thing that you've actually done during the lockdown? Not in the work sphere, but otherwise. Yeah.
Well, I've dared to offer my independent opinion to my wife with grave consequences. It's not a mistake that I intend to repeat in this lifetime.
Which one?
I'm not going to ask you what was, And Akash, well, Vikas very rightly put in, you're a great salesperson as well. I mean, you did not leave an opportunity to mention about a Samsung product or a Samsung technology in any statement of yours. So tell us a life beyond Samsung. Yeah, is there a life around that?
If you look at, I think Apul mentioned or Rakshit mentioned that they used to travel almost 20 days in a month, and my profile is absolutely the same. I used to travel a lot, and this particular thing COVID has really helped me spend time on what I really love, which is gardening. And I really love putting in, and I've tried multiple things of growing multiple vegetables in my small garden which I have, and I also have a kind of a small place outside little Bangalore, and we go regularly on every weekend. In fact, every Saturday we go there, and we have planted a lot of plants there. And I was having a discussion with Vikas where I was saying that there is in fact a organization, and there are a lot of organizations in and around Bangalore where they put up these cameras, and also you can actually go and plant your stuff and you can remotely see them. So you have an app that is available on your phone, and anywhere in the world you can see how the seeds that you had seeded are actually doing, and you can, when the plant actually grows and you want to really take out or pull a mango from the tree, you can actually walk down, take a drive to that particular place and do it yourself. So yeah, that is something that is really good. And also my parents stay with me, so I've been able to, in between the calls, it is really good to spend some time with them where I used to hardly find time to spend with them. So that is something which is really good.
Interesting. So look forward to going to your farm someday, Akash, with you. So we can plan a weekend trip out there. And Kalol, now Irumba taking care of the entire house, car insurance done. So what keeps you busy on the weekend? I mean, do you paint? Do you?
Yeah.
What do you?
I think the bravest thing I've done during the lockdown was actually, taking a chance mid-June. That was 12th of June. Flying down to Calcutta to bring my mother-in-law. She was alone in Calcutta, so I had to get her here because she was all alone. There was nobody there. And being the only daughter, my wife was here in Bangalore and she was alone there. So getting to Calcutta on a flight and with all those protectors and the PPE kits and all that was an adventure in itself. And then getting back and then 14 days of home isolation was something which we went through. That was one. As far as weekends are concerned, I think I cycle over the weekends, not marathon cycler, but maybe 12 to 15 kilometers around the city with my mask and with the protection and everything. And then go shopping. We can't go to the malls to watch movies. We are movie buffs, so Netflix is the only savior now. Netflix and Amazon Prime and whatever you call it, Z. So that the accumulation of fees which we are paying to the OTT platform, we don't have a clue, because you're subscribing to all platforms at any point in time. So I don't know which platforms I am on right now, but whenever I click that logo, some film or some program is appearing. So moving our base from PBRs and the what do you call the PBRs of the world to the platform on iPads is becoming interesting. And of course, tracking health, as Rakshit mentioned, is very important. So my iWatch, through which I can keep my cycling, parameters within control, and also show the figures to the doctor when I'm on my 6 monthly or annual checkup, by just passing the PDF to him using technology to monitor health, is something I'm doing over the weekend also. So that's keeping me busy.
No, wonderful. So pun intended, but was going to Calcutta more brave or getting your mother-in-law more brave? So maybe for
we will discuss that in a subsequent session.
Well, because Kalol mentioned about marathon. He doesn't do the marathon bicycling, but I believe you run a marathons. So are you going to be missing those this year?
So I used to run the marathon till a cartilage problem took over my knee about a year and a half back, and since then I've been advised not to run. But adrenaline is something that you just get used to, and if you don't get your daily shot of adrenaline, you have a bit of a scary day that day. So fortunately for me, just before the pandemic happened, I invested into a TACX and a track cycle. Which enabled a cycle from home kind of equipment. So I've been cycling, and I've got a coach who coaches me into cycling. So I've now reached about 80-kilometer rides over the weekend, on Sundays. And I think that has been a big achievement during this pandemic. That I've taken up cycling. I've reached a situation where I'm now starting to think of hitting 100-kilometer cycling run on Sundays. So yeah, so some physical activity there, yes.
But I must also say that, because you must keep writing. There's a lot of simplicity in your writing. I've read a lot of your blogs, and the one which really touched me was your Dehradun housey story. And in the Wellington Club, Dehradun Club, sorry. And I think that was interesting. But I think you should keep writing more and more. It's nice and lovely.
Thank you very much.
So well, gentlemen, it was an outstanding, a very, very insightful and engaging conversation. Thank you very much for your time, and thanks to all the audience. We're going to bring out a bit of a white paper after this, taking the views of what all you have said and share it with all our data and everybody. We'll also create a video and some podcasts. So hear them out. And we're going to come back again next weekend with another interesting topic, a new set of leaders. And till then, take good care of yourself, stay healthy, stay safe, and look forward to catching up in person with all of you very soon. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.